Hello everybody, it's Brian Pace with Pace Squared Home Group at Keller Williams. Today we're going to be talking about title with...
Hey everyone, I'm Jess Bennett with North Florida Title Company, and I am a licensed title agent for the company.
And when someone is looking for a title company, what are some of the things that they should be looking for?
So they want a title company who's super efficient and responsive. You want a title company that when they get that contract, they immediately start working on the file. Their goal is to have the closing ready by the time of that closing date on the contract. So you want to make sure whoever you're working with is prepared and working off the same dates as yourself and responsive to any questions or concerns that anyone may have throughout the process, as well as keeping you updated, letting you know if there's issues with a title, and just, keeping the file moving with all parties towards the closing date. So we make sure we stay on top of lenders, realtors, vendors such as surveyors, our own processes to make sure nothing prevents us from closing on that contract date. Another thing to look for is fees. You want to make sure that your buyer's getting quality service but not being gouged in their fees. The title fees should be clear and simply outlined for both sides of the transaction.
Once we go under contract, what's the process of the title company?
Great question. So first we'll take the earnest money deposit from the buyer and hold it in escrow for closing. And it's really good that buyers submit their earnest money deposits to title companies because we have to remain completely unbiased throughout the transaction. So if there is a dispute during the transaction, we cannot just release the funds to anybody or make a decision on who the funds go to. If an agreement can't be made, then it has to be turned over to the courts for them to determine. So it's a really good protective measure for buyers if they keep their earnest money with an actual title company. But once we get the deposit and the contract, we order a title search, order the HOA estoppel letter, municipal lien searches, and start from there on clearing whatever we need to ensure a clear title at closing. We also work on getting all the information we need from buyers, sellers, realtors, and lenders to prep the file for closing. So we'll gather a bunch of information on all sides, and then once we are actually close to closing, within a week of closing, we start working on the final figures with the lender and preparing the final figures for the seller side. Once everything is finalized, we'll send out a settlement statement to all parties outlining the closing costs for each side of the transaction. We will coordinate getting all the signatures from buyers and sellers, notarizing documents, and making sure everything's properly witnessed. And then once closing occurs, we will disperse all the funds for the transaction. So we'll pay the realtors, pay sellers, pay out any invoices that need to be paid from the settlement statement, as well as return all the documents to the lender that they need, record the deed transfer and mortgage in the public records to make it official, and then issue the title insurance policy to the lender and buyer. So that's done post-closing, and then we mail out the original deed to the buyer with their title policy, and then the original mortgage to the lender with their title policy, just as proof of final coverage.
So why is it important to have title insurance?
So title insurance is very important because it protects the buyer for anything in the back chain of title. So the most common things that we see that it protects against is unpaid mortgages, liens, judgments, gaps in chains of title, probate issues in the chain of title, incorrect legal descriptions in the chain of title.
Also, when we go into contract, who ends up picking the title company?
That is a really good question. So the state of Florida states that whoever pays for the owner's title insurance policy gets to pick the title company. No one can be coerced to use a specific title insurance company if they're not paying for that owner's title policy. So in our area, typically the seller pays for the owner's title insurance policy, and they typically choose.
And then are there any other services that you guys provide?
Yes, so we are willing to hold earnest money deposits without requiring us to actually handle the closing and title insurance. That is a big issue in our area where people want a really neutral party to keep those funds. So that is a service we offer on behalf of our agents free of charge. Also for our closings, we have the ability to prepare certain legal documents that we normally can't outside of the closing transaction. So if we're in the middle of a contract and a seller needs to occupy the property after closing or a buyer needs to move in early, we can help facilitate occupancy agreements, power of attorneys, and different legal documents that may be required throughout the process. So we can definitely do those as part of the title insurance process, which is really nice. I do try to help people with title searches, help them with short sale transactions. We do a title search on short sale transactions up front, free of charge as well. We do have the ability to order title searches on behalf of people. They would have to prepay those. They're called ownership and encumbrance reports, but we can at least get them done for customers and provide them with that service.
Thank you, Jess, for being here and giving us such good information. This is Brian Pace with the Pace Squared Home Group. If you need a good title company,
Contact Jessica Bennett with North Florida Title Company.
thank you.
Thanks.